To be presented to you by Awesemo.com. I'm Andrew. That is Ben. We talk about sports. Ben, what's your favorite sport?
Probably lacrosse, but they don't have DFS for that just yet. Anywho, happy
Chris
Friday.
Do that on
What?
like the player intros. Chris, the people are like, blah blah blah, the Ohio State University. Chris Hogan's player intro was like, I forget where he went to school, but he's like Mount Holyoke lacrosse.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. He played lacrosse. Yeah, I remember hearing that when he made the Patriots. Mm-hmm. But we're here to talk about some football. Happy Friday. Yeah, we got a Friday show. I like Fridays. They're fun. We got some NFL. We're going to go through these games, talk about what we're thinking. Then at the end of the show, get into a little college for tomorrow if anyone wants to play some college football DFS, which I suggest you do. It's a lot of fun. The problem is half the country is banned due to the state regulations.
That is the case.
Yep. But before we get into the main slate, before I even knew what happened last night, the Broncos defense had 30 points, it felt like.
Yeah, showdown can be really frustrating because I had, 45% Broncos defense and like 70% Manny Sanders
and Sutton you were on.
Yeah, well, Sutton ended up sucking. Like he had the one. It was very exciting. I was like, oh my God, this is so lit at the beginning. So it was like Manny, Sutton, and Broncos were like my three biggest exposures.
I know you've been around, and we haven't talked about this. But like even now, I don't know if you still get this. It feels, even though like your equity in the second quarter when you're in like first is, it's like double your money, if that. It really feels like you're going to win sometimes. You still get that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is great. Like worst case scenario, maybe I chop with like 10 people. This is sick. And then the lineups, even with NBA last night, I had a couple good teams and it felt like, oh, this is great. It changes so fast.
Yeah. I mean, showdown is tough too, because you have like, we sometimes make fun of people who are like, oh man, I was, 3v3 from the nuts. And it's like, well, so was literally everyone else in that tournament. But with something like showdown, it's like, it's like an actual 1v1. And it's like, I thought about that, it's like if I had Chad Williams instead of JJ Nelson in this spot or something, like just weird stuff like that. I had a few that were Freeman versus Lindsey away from like being in the top spot, and like whatever, the top spot lineup was only for $5,000 or something. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was 55. It was not a ton of people. So
yeah, it wasn't it. And the other thing that's frustrating with showdown is the points. You can legitimately be 0.5 away from first, and you're in 700th.
Yeah,
it's very small margins.
And like having Broncos versus Manny Sanders as captain was a difference of
marginal,
like 0.3 points or something like that, but it was preferable to have the Broncos.
Yeah, because 700 people pass you and then you're boxed out. But yeah, Belichick coached some lacrosse. I think that's true. What's up? Yeah, feeling that way. PGA, that's what chat's talking about, which we're not even gonna. Typically when there's cuts, we're gonna talk about that. But that tournament is. I'm not even gonna pretend that I'm paying attention. So we talked a
lot. Takeaways from the game last night, as far as like players, because I will say that was the first time I really watched Josh Rosen like closely.
Oh boy,
it's hard. I didn't think he looked that bad, man.
Oh,
I was surprised. I thought he made some good decisions. It's not breaking news to say that Von Miller makes it very difficult to play quarterback, especially when your tackles are oh my God, those guys were so
They're
bad.
Not good. No, I said that on Three Fellas. I really thought you were about to bury me, that I didn't think he's looked that bad. I've seen him, watch the games, and yes, he's struggling, but honestly, what I took away from last night is that I'm putting him, and I didn't originally, in the Josh Allen bucket, where I don't think you can have an opinion because the team is so bad. you don't really know. It's not like Baker where he should be succeeding.
Yeah. I've mostly just caught Rosen on red zone at this point, but that was the first time I really got. And I he had a good, he looked like he was going through his reads in the right, I think he was on the right ideas several times, and then someone blew him up that he didn't see because his actual blindside protector couldn't do any, he just got. That seemed like all offensive line and defensive line. We've talked about this a bit with Denver too, and I think that they're one of those teams they'll take advantage of bad offensive lines, but they're teams that can really run the ball are going to be a problem for Denver. But man, they can still get after the passer because Miller and Chubb that's a badass combo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we saw that last night, and Chad just pointed out Royce Freeman's banged up now. We'll see what Lindsey becomes. He's certainly going to be someone we'll talk about as they're back on the main slate. But yeah, I mean, when these guys, I think just to wrap that up, you're going to see when these quarterbacks, especially, if they have to have additional people. I see two of you.
Me too.
That was such a Matrix-like situation. I got stunned. When they put too much on their shoulders, it could go bad like that fast. I know it looks more egregious when it's 45-10 and they're throwing picks all over the place. That's just what happens when you're surrounded by no weapons. You have to try to take too much on.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was actually my fault, but I'm still going to blame Josh. I realized what happened. So
that was pretty cool, though. I don't know how to do that. So
I tried to open the chat and I opened another appearing window.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. McCoy also got fired. Thank God. Which now Byron Leftwich. Yeah.
That's wild.
Didn't know that. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
That could be interesting. I mean, we've been frustrated with the Cardinals' usage of David Johnson, right? Maybe Leftwich makes that more of a priority.
You can't go any worse, so maybe this is a fresh restart. We shall see. I guess that's a good way to segue to the main slate. If we want to start with, we've mentioned that Mike Smith got fired. Do you think that's going to help the Bucs defense at all?
No,
I don't think so either. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not misreading that.
They have one good player last time I checked. That's tough for a defense.
Usually you need more than one guy.
Yep. As the Rams are finding out.
Right. No, that is true. Yep. Boy. It's an interesting slate. I've started, again, I haven't fully built. And we talked about Gurley at length last night. Now injuries are starting to take shape. We saw Dalvin Cook is sitting. Fournette, as I think we expected, is sitting. The thing that's really becoming, and I mentioned in my article, Jermaine Kearse, now it looks like Pryor might sit along with Enunwa. The Jets, that game with Minnesota, I feel like could be sneaky interesting.
Okay.
Is that bad? I feel like that's right up your alley. You're always on the Kirk Cousins, trash real-life quarterback, great fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Cousins fan. I think Thielen is going to be one of the most popular players, which makes me less excited to do that, but it's not unreasonable because it's really hard to put Thielen and Gurley together unless more stuff opens up. Isn't TJ Yeldon banged up too?
I think he's going, but yeah, he is banged up.
Okay. Because if he were to somehow be out, then all of a sudden, whoever it is, there's going to be there's some legitimate.
I don't even know who that would be.
3-4K. It's Corey Grant, but
I think he's out for the year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's a made-up person, but Yeldon is expected to play.
Which isn't even the point. The point is more that since it's a made-up person, they're probably actually 3K, and then all of a sudden everyone's playing them and value everywhere. And then you've got your Gurley, Thielen lineups left and right.
Mm-hmm. You know who it is? Not that he's in play. It's Jamal Charles.
Oh, yeah.
I was just Jay Charles. Oh, well, there you go.
Which there's no way that he could see 25 touches.
That ship has sailed. And I totally understand Thielen. I like him. I think everyone does. Let's not sleep on Diggs, though. If this is a perfect spot to go Cousins Diggs and hope that you get the massive crazy upside game and Thielen's just serviceable, you can pick up a lot within the game where I think a lot of people are going to look.
Right. Thielen just, sits right at his 24.3 point floor.
Yeah, exactly. He only has, 10 for 110. And
just runs bad, misses the end zone, that would be pretty cool.
Do you see any merit? And I've seen this floated around. Obviously, it's somewhat of a joke, but we've talked about this. It's a shorter slate. It opens it up to be a little more aggressive at quarterback. Are you considering Derek Anderson at all?
Not really.
Okay.
I have not built yet, but it was not really something I was looking to do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because if you punt there, you can, that's the old, you can really load up. That's how you can get Gurley, Thielen, and the rest of the gang. I don't know. I think maybe people are somewhat bullish because of what Osweiler did last week, and it's still kind of a dicey thing. I wouldn't fault that. I don't think it's out of the question, like what playing Brock Osweiler was last week, but I'm not sure I go there.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Anderson is like, what do you do that with? I mean, Shady isn't like a horrible play, but
Zay Jones, like Kelvin, your boy, is he your least favorite player?
I mean, no, I don't really. I mean, I don't have anything personally against him. I just
Borders.
Yeah, I just thought he was fucking terrible. Like when he came into the league, I just didn't see a way for him to succeed. He's fat and slow. That was clear when they drafted him. Like fat and slow players are not usually good wide receivers.
Yeah, they did play together in Carolina. Good point. From John and Chad, it can only help him, but
who played together at Carolina? Derek Anderson and Zay Jones?
No, and Kelvin, your boy.
Derek Anderson, like 7 years older than Kelvin?
It's debatable. Derek Anderson, I did not think was in the league. Having said that,
he was an All-Pro like 12 years ago, man. How long ago was that?
I have no idea.
The one Cleveland winning season?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah. Derek Anderson's got, I mean, Kelvin Benjamin's what, a 5th or 6th year guy? Like Derek Anderson's got to be 7-8 years older than him, I would think.
You don't say.
I guess I could look that up.
No, I could too. I just want to continue.
That's why we need Josh on the show with us. He's always like, let me Google that.
It's I mean, I'm just looking at the slate as a whole, and obviously Sunday morning, got my game plan show with Lofty. We'll go absolutely game by game here. We're gonna pick some plays, talk about the overall themes of the slate. But I mean, the game in London, there's a lot of weapons that aren't there. So I do think you can go to someone who's a little off the grid at quarterback because you're not sacrificing as much. Like last week, it was Matt Ryan. It was hard to get away from those type of like super, super smash spots.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kelvin Benjamin is 27, played at Carolina. Derek Anderson is 35 and played at Oregon State. So I don't think they played together in college. Got to push back on that. Unless I think you might have misinterpreted the chat. I don't know who they were talking about, but
no, it said they played together in Carolina.
Oh,
the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, with the Panthers. I knew one went to Florida State and one went to Oregon State. That would have been Kelvin Benjamin played with Jameis in college, but
okay.
Anyway, the moral of the story: this is how dysfunctional the Bills are. We can't even get it right with them.
Yeah, this is a waste of time to talk about. They're awful. They're like, I just don't think anyone. You could put Aaron Rodgers on that team, and it would be real ugly. He would throw someone open, but it wouldn't be Kelvin Benjamin because Kelvin Benjamin is fat and slow.
Yeah, I mean, it's I know you're not.
Yeah, guys, I get it. I'll take my L here. Sorry, it's not college.
It's I mean, there is, again, I'm not saying, but if you're running a bunch of teams, last thing I'll say on this, in the millie, you stack up the Buffalo and you can get 3 absolute monsters. So I don't hate that. It takes some real gusto to do it in say like a 3 entry or a higher stakes. I don't think I could get there for that.
Yeah. Even in the Millie, I'd rather do that with like Baker Mayfield because you can.
I think he's going to be really popular. But I'm even on Baker this week. They're letting him throw a ton. It's not the most efficient, but we've talked about it a million times. That almost helps him. Like, you don't hate your quarterback getting in trouble.
Well, he's not. It's not. That's another one where it's not his fault. He's not been efficient. They're dropping like 9% of passes or something. I was listening to Robert Mays talk about that. It was like that's insane. Like, the receivers have just been trash, and like that is somewhat variance based. Like drops are kind of weird.
Yeah,
there aren't usually a ton of guys that just like have the drops in their life.
The yips.
Yeah. So you would think some of those would be caught. Mayfield has made good throws. He's played well. I don't know. I guess you're right. He is projecting as like crazy popular, but
it just makes. I think it's a good week to be a little different in the sense you don't have the big name guys. We've seen him throw the ball, close to 50 times. You got Njoku, you got Landry, you got some weapons. And obviously the big one is he's playing the worst defense on the slate, which that's going to bring in some eyeballs.
Yeah. A spot I'm really interested in attacking, and I'm not going to profess to know exactly how to do it, but something I would like to mix and match with is the Patriots. Because I think if Khalil Mack has not been amazing the last couple weeks. He's got an ankle problem. If he, there's talk of him even missing. But remember, the Bears defense was not the craziest thing in the world last year. It was pretty good, it was fine. But like Khalil Mack really turned that into a next level unit because it's like, it's like it's like anything else. Khalil Mack takes the place of this guy, and then he becomes the second best dude, and everyone else. Say what?
Domino effect.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And when he is not a game changer on his own, that will really change things. And the way the Bears scheme, they do a lot of drop. It's a lot of cover 2 defense. They drop a couple safeties. It's a lot of zone concepts. That's bad against Tom Brady. He will pick that apart. So,
do you think that specifically goes to Edelman?
That's what I have no idea about.
Yeah.
Edelman and Gronk are the guys that would find the seams there most likely. But I'm just going to try and mix and match. The dropping 2 safeties does make it harder to hit the like mega donks. So like maybe someone like Josh Gordon with limited snaps is a little bit of a tougher sell because someone, like Josh Gordon, you're hoping he catches 2 for 110 and a touchdown.
I get it. I don't mind the Patriots. It's just there's so many bodies. It would feel not like a Sony Michel spot, more of a James White, but you never know. I mean, he's running really effectively.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say is like maybe they just wreck him with Sony. I think that's a viable route to go to try. But again, it's more about make sure that the reports are that Khalil Mack is sketchy at best.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, that's going to be there's a couple of games like that where I think they go a little overlooked and I don't mind attacking it. The Lions and the Dolphins, and I mentioned Minnesota and the Jets. Those two, both games I don't think are the predominant like stack them up games, but you can get pretty interesting there. I don't know what exactly to make of Miami just because I'm not going to play Albert Wilson. I don't really see myself getting there. Drake is hard to trust. Him and Gore cannibalize each other, and he lost a key fumble. Lucky they won. But
I will say they looked like they had his back with Drake. Because I remember watching that because I think it was that like the last game still going or something like that? Because I think I was watching Red Zone, but it was a ton of that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was in overtime.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it did look, like that was bad enough, and then he's like losing it, and I'm like, man, Drake might get could he get cut for this? Like it's that, and then luckily, they came back, and then he was out there the next series.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, stuff though, A, it builds, and B, it's a lot easier, just like kickers, when you win. Like you lose that game, but if he fumbled early, I think there would be a problem there. And that not even withstanding, it's hard to peg them out. Kerryon Johnson on the other side, I am still into, even if Abdullah gets involved.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a fun game. I generally like the Lions quite a bit. I think Stafford gets a bit of a bad rap. He makes some bad decisions, but
very bad decisions.
But he makes some amazing ones. He makes throws that other people just actually can't make. Like, he does have like Aaron Rodgers level talent. He just does like dumb shit sometimes. And the receivers are really good. Like, they're big time. They're a big time offense when it's going for them.
Do you worry? Like, I don't mind. I'm with you. I don't mind Stafford. I looked at him. Just tricky, because he's got now Galladay. It makes it even tougher. And then if there's one thing you've mentioned, Miami's defense, the corner, Howard's pretty legit.
Yeah. He had a really good first 3 games. I think he's been kind of struggling since.
Progressing.
Yeah. He's turned back into what he was last year, which was everyone's, like, he had the game. Man, who did he shut down on the Patriots? Whatever. He had like 3 or 4 like unreal games where he just like held somebody to nothing, like real players to nothing last year. And then a few where he just got lit up. And the first 3-4 games this year, he was just kind of just shutting everyone down. So it was like, wow, maybe he's really, really a guy now. And then he's had some issues again the last few games. But
yeah. No, like I said, it wouldn't shy me away from attacking. It's just it was a factor whether I want to go to Tate or Galladay, or Marvin Jones is still rocking and rolling. But you're going to be forced into some difficult decisions, not just because it's 10 games, just because, and we talked about this last night on Three Fellas, there isn't that game where it's like, oh, this game's a 60-point total. Let's start there. You have a bunch of games that they all look kind of the same. 1 or 2 of them are going to shoot out. It's just kind of determining which one.
Yep. A game that I don't think will shoot out, but I think you could get a lot of offense out of was, my sort of hot take last night on Three Fellas. I think that 1 or 2 guys from the Saints are going to do some things. Kamara and Thomas are the most likely. Maybe Cam Meredith too, running out of the slot. It's the Ravens are sort of Falcons-y. Like, it's a different scheme, but it's a little like, I think that's sort of how you attack them in the same way. It's like middle of the field and shortish, which that's potentially really juicy for Kamara. And it's more for me that if Gurley's going to be 35% owned and Kamara's going to be 8% owned, like, give me that. I think he's got a more than 20% chance of beating Gurley's score. So,
and yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally. The floor is, I think, scary low now that Ingram is back. We saw that last week, but I still think he possesses the monster. Even, I don't want to say it's beyond Gurley, but in some ways it is, just because of how they utilize him. If he gets another 12 to 15 targets like that, I don't see many ways where Gurley is that involved against the Niners in that way.
Right. And that's what you're hoping for, because the Ravens defense, like, it is legitimately good, but it's good in a specific way. It's like it's sort of old school. Like, you cannot just like straight up run the ball on them. So that's really bad for Ingram, and that's really bad for Kamara's floor. But again, like you just said, I think you're hoping for the 12 to 15 target Kamara game, and he gets loose on a couple, which that's not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen that happen in half the games they've played this year. So
yeah, literally time and time again.
I don't care for Breeze though.
No, that's a tough spot.
Yeah.
Do you, on the other side of that game, I'm kind of tempted to go back to John Brown. It was my case for it is this. Last week, they were in control the entire game. They almost made it a point to take him away, and Flacco seemed more than content to let them. That's why Crabtree and Snead looked good. I don't think we see that this week, and he should be pretty much off everybody's radar.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that in a vacuum. The thing that I worry about is I feel like I think the Saints defense is better than people think.
Okay. He's a good, I'll put it like this, if I get aggressive, I might try to, pair a couple people on that. And he is my favorite from the Ravens. I don't have any interest in the backs. And as much as we saw flashes from Crabtree, I don't know how much I want to go there. I'm not playing one of the 8 tight ends that they have. So by default, if it gets out and moving, I think he's a big part of it.
Yep.
But that game, all these games are not without risk. Like, if I know you like this game and you think it's sneaky, I don't think it's even remotely, out of the cards that it's a grinded out, low scoring game. Like,
oh yeah, I think it's a very high variance game, and that's what you want. So
absolutely.
But yeah, there's a real chance that it's 19-13 and we're all pissed.
Yeah, I mean, there's
the Saints not being as good on the road and outdoors is a real thing.
Absolutely. It's just, you got to hope those games there's a lot of games that I think super high variance, even the one we were just talking about with the Patriots. Like, I could see that being low. If the Patriots get moving and they force Trubisky and them to try to play catch up, could be really good. If the Bears are effective at slowing it, not that they're going to be able to stop the Patriots, but a lot of these games, the range of outcomes is way bigger than when it's like Falcons, Bucks, and we know kind of points are going to be had. We just don't know exactly from who.
Yeah. Speaking of Pat's Bears, you want to talk about the Bears side of that? We haven't yet in chat. There's some good discussion going on in chat about it right now. So
yeah,
some spots there.
It's interesting. I mean, I definitely think there's some spots there where Taylor Gabriel obviously stands out. We'll see it. Anthony Miller, we got to juggle him coming back and whatnot. But Gabriel's explosive. He doesn't need the volume. It would be nice. And he's had some big games already. The tricky one for me is the backfield. It would seem like Tariq Cohen, based on a recent, performance and just the game flow, would probably be the preference. I'm not opposed to maybe having some Jordan Howard in a kind of a unique game script where maybe they really do try to control it there. And if they have success, maybe he can get in the end zone. He fumbled on the goal line last week. Not what I wanted to see. He had a terrible game. But I'm not sure he's completely dead and buried there.
No, I don't think so. But that's a case where you got to bank. This got brought up a little bit last night because I think Josh was into Jordan Howard. I think Jordan Howard is contingent on Khalil Mack more heavily than you'd think, because if Khalil Mack is out, I think the Pats are going to be able to score a ton, and that's bad for Howard. Don't disagree that they might try to control the game that way, but they're also, Nagy's good, man. Like, they've got cool plays. They're doing the, Andy Reid coaching tree kind of offense. It's the Rams, Kansas City kind of thing, where Trubisky's got a lot of options. He's, it's simplified for him. I don't mean he's got a lot of options. I mean, he actually doesn't have a lot of options.
Yeah, the weapons aren't there, but
yeah,
I know what you mean.
This is what you're supposed to do on this play. And I think he's, been reasonable at that. So I like I don't know. I kind of like Tariq Cohen, who hasn't played a ton, but
that's the thing.
He's doing a lot with the work he gets, and that's the kind of player the Patriots tend to struggle with.
Yeah, I agree with that. It kind of concerns me with him that he's almost overachieving already, and that's going to bring in additional ownership, because when you look, because I know this guy's rolling, and now he's going to get a team where they're going to be behind. I get it. I'm not saying you can't chase that. You can even look to Trey Burton, honestly, who, if they can move the ball, he's a good red zone target. They like to get him involved. It's kind of a dicey team on the whole, because unlike the Chiefs, unlike the Rams, they set Trubisky up for success, but the weapons around him aren't the best. They're running an effective offense, but it's still somewhat limited unless you saw the power of it against a team like the Bucs, where they could get out and those weapons could be effective. I don't think that we see a huge game in terms of ceiling from Trubisky. Are you into him?
More than I have been.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not there. I can see him getting a little steam, though.
Yeah. I don't see them being all that popular. I mean, do you think Tariq Cohen gets to double digits?
I do, yeah. Yep. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say between 10 and 15%.
Yeah, I'd take under 10%.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that would certainly add to the appeal. It's just if he's say 12, 13%, I think I can get around that. Not that I'm looking to necessarily, but that certainly dampens the interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really see him being that big. But Trubisky, Burton, Cohen, like that's a real cheap stack you can throw out there. Allen Robinson's still only $6,000. I get it. Trubisky's not a great quarterback, and Stephon Gilmore is good. I do think, and cornerback is more important in in something like Mitchell Trubisky, where they have to. He's going to make the decision very fast because it's like these are your two options. Pick one of them. Do it right away. So it's not like Stephon Gilmore loses a lot of value against Aaron Rodgers because he can't hold coverage for 7-8 seconds if Rodgers is running around in the pocket. Like no one can. It doesn't matter how good you are. But when it's 2-3 seconds, that's when the cornerback becomes pretty important. And Mitchell Trubisky is going to make most of his decisions in 2-3 seconds. So that's a little scary for Robinson, but he's only $6K. So
yeah, I mean, you can look. It's again, this is to me why it's a high variance game. If Brady marches down against their zone and guts them, and it's getting out, and Trubisky's forced to be inefficient and launch it, it adds to his appeal. It adds to these Bears' weapons because I would at home, you would think they could put up a fight and try to keep pace. If Mac plays and they slow the game, that's where I think maybe someone like Jordan Howard has some appeal in a kind of grinded out game that the Bears can lean on the run and maybe go against the grain because I don't expect anybody to really own him.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, again, this is why I kind of like this slate. There's no clear cut, like super obvious spots to really go, and that should level ownership to an extent.
Do you have a fan going or something? That buzzing is you.
Buzzing?
Yeah. I muted you and it went away. Whatever.
No, I don't hear any buzzing.
It's the same issue we were having a month ago.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry, brah. You're going to have to live with my buzzing, but I'll mute myself when I'm not talking. Is there anything else from the NFL that you're kind of into before we do talk a little college?
Not really. I mean, I like the Tampa Bay Cleveland game. I'm not in love with. I'm more onto the Cleveland offense side of the ball. Don't really love Jameis. Think the Cleveland defense is pretty solid, and Jameis is just gonna, whatever. He had a great game against the Falcons last week. I don't think that's a particularly amazing.
That's the Falcons. This is totally with you. Different type of defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, I kind of have my initial looks. What comes Sunday, catch me with Laffy, have a more concrete plan. I will have built by then. A lot of it comes down to roster construction. You can't fit everyone that you want in on every team, of course.
Right. If you play Gurley Thielen, you're running out of options real fast. So, and I will say, I guess my last take, this is a dangerous take to have. I'm not so in love with the Rams in general. I think they kill San Francisco, and it's to the point that they don't have that they're running out the clock in the whole second half.
Oh wow. Just annihilate them full on.
Kinda. This is the worst defense they've faced, and they've made amazing defenses look like, college kids. So
it's certainly a possibility. They have enough weapons where somebody's still going to get some. It's just when you're $10,000, you need a full game.
Yeah.
So I don't mind taking a piece, say like a Woods, even if you think that.
Right.
But it's hard to stack them up or anything unless you run it back.
Yeah, I think Woods and Gurley are both very strong cash plays. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying I think it could get out of hand to the point that it's just silly. Again, we've seen too many games in the NFL where even when that happens, a lot of people get it done because they scored. I mean, it could be 35-3 at halftime, which is what happened last night.
No doubt. All right, you want to talk a little college? Anything else from the NFL from you?
I don't think so. Sort of Dion Lewis. I'm going to be a fish and keep chasing him. I like him against in LA. against the Chargers. Chargers are getting it back. They're a very good team, but
just for what it's worth, not on the main slate because they're from London.
Oh, it's in London. Never mind. Just kidding. Forgot that was the London game.
That's a showdown slate now. So get ready to lose an additional showdown. Got a chance to go for, you can lose Thursday, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Monday night.
Oh, that's excellent. So I can not only can I continue my long-term buy of Dion Lewis, but I can do it when he's 22% owned.
Yep. And then he will get 50 points, but you won't have him in the captain spot. So you'll get it right and wrong at the same time.
He actually scored 75 points.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm losing my mind, and I start drinking at 8 a.m. here because that game starts at 6:30.
And then, you'll be making teams in a great state of mind. But so, that game I would have had a ton of appeal to, but not on the slate. And that's why we only have 10 to choose from. So,
yeah, it's fun. So many sports. Last night we had the 5 major professional sports. Also, some people pointed out to me on Twitter there was some MLS games happening last night, and there was rugby on FS2. So we had 7 professional sports going last night.
Wow.
Whew.
That's a lot of potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah, the Reds. Congratulations to the Red Sox. My team. I'm just kidding. I don't really care, but it's nice. I grew up a huge Red Sox fan. It was very important to me up through 2004, and then it just kind of lost its luster a little bit.
That's what happens when you win everything.
Our good friend Ponto who still really cares about the Red Sox, was talking. He was talking about how, oh man, it's gonna be so good. Maybe we can break this 20-month title drought that Boston's had. Like, it's true. Only one championship. Boston's only got one championship since I moved to California. So I think that it's maybe it's got something to do with me.
Come on back. Not that I care about.
I'm never coming back. Do you know how unbelievable the weather is here compared to up there?
Hey, it's nice, cool, crisp, like 50 degrees in New York today. It's a nice day though. Anyway,
I don't mind days like that. You know when New England and the North Atlantic is hell? It's February, March, April. Like, no thank you.
Not wrong.
It's just the advent of winter is kind of fun. Like, I like fall. I like, jackets, sort of.
Yeah, I have a jacket.
You get to wear some different clothes, like change your whole thing. Fall is kind of fun. The season, the holidays are cool. I mean, Thanksgiving is far, far greater than Christmas as you get older, obviously. I think everyone knows that. Up through, it's sort of cool when it's snowing. The first couple times it snows, snow is beautiful. And then all of a sudden it's the 3rd week of January and it's like, oh, there's 3 more months of this. Like, that's when it's the nut works. So,
true story.
Yep. All right, college.
Yeah. We can do that. You got have you looked? And let me check. Guilty, but last couple things from NFL. Yeah, Allen Robinson's questionable, and game for game, my man Hunter. We went through some game by game. Me and Lofty, every single game, every single side, Sunday morning. But we just wanted to give a general synopsis of how we're attacking the slate on Fridays.
Yeah, that was I should have. I heard you say that. I think you were kind of going through the motions. This is not necessarily a game by game show. That's not what that's what you do on Sunday mornings. Yep,
it's true. Anyway, so before the little appetizer tomorrow, some good games on the slate actually. I kind of like it. It's not overwhelming. Like last week we had UCF and Memphis. It was just like, oh, the total's 80. That's a new one. We don't have anything too extreme here, but a good spread of attackable games, and then there's still a couple where I'm probably going to stay away. When you look at a couple like the SEC games, even though they're definitely playable, unlike some of them where you just completely throw it out.
Yeah. Which ones do you think which ones stand out to you?
I mean, when you look at the slate, it's going to be your boy. I know you're not the biggest college football guy, but who is your college football man? Who's your favorite player?
Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown is back on the slate. Oklahoma, TCU. TCU's been pretty disappointing. Not the best year. They lost that heartbreaker to Ohio State, and they've haven't really responded, I guess you could say. Haven't been scoring. The defense is still good, but they get Oklahoma, who's a bad defense, and they have a super, Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown. It's pretty much been you just play those two. They combine for like 80 something, and then you hope the rest of your lineup is good. This is a tough spot for them. I still will have some Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown. There's just they're matchup proof in my book. So you can look at that game. The question is, what do you do with TCU? They don't really have a defined offense right now. It's just not great. The running game's not working. Robinson's been not the best. So the over-under 62. Oklahoma's about a touchdown favorite. It's a decent spot, but you're not going to have those. Like I said, there's not an 80-point total that I see on a slate like this.
All right. Do you have? Are you avoiding TCU, or do you have weapons you'd like to go for there?
It's definitely not anything where I feel great. I wouldn't hate to play Sean Robinson, their QB. The problem is he's just a little much to be your second guy, and if he's your first guy, I think it's a lot of opportunity cost. That I don't know how high that floor is with him right now. The receivers, I don't really see much. Turpin. He's like one of the fastest people. He's like a border. He's like 5'8", and he's just like a track star. Super shifty. I don't think the upside's immense. He can always break it, but he just hasn't put together anything super solid. Last week was by far his best game. So he flashed it, but other than that, the floor has been pretty down there. Your small margins, I guess you could go there though. The problem is he's not. If he was 4,500, if he was even in the fives, I'd feel better. You're not getting that big of discount from a different type of receiver from him.
Okay. Running backs.
Yeah, this is what happens. I don't know if it's just me, but every week, I look to these running backs and it's great. There's some really good ones. It's almost impossible to go get an expensive one if you want to have A, two quarterbacks, and B, if you want a Kyler Murray or someone really expensive. You got Clemson's running back, amazing. They have a tough game against AC State. I don't know if I want to play 9,400 for him. Jonathan Taylor, safe, but again, 9,700. Those are brutal prices.
I'm with you. I think you gotta save a running back. It does like Najee Harris get enough work to be considered, or he's only $5,000. They're gonna score 1 million points. Do you think he runs in one or two?
Yeah, the problem there is just the ceiling is so limited. Like, even if he runs one in, you're looking at maybe 75 yards and a touchdown, like 0 receptions. And it's not the best. Josh Jacobs is in the same boat. And if not, you're looking at the dreaded 6.4 because he got 64 yards. And they don't have any peripheral stats.
Right. Do you think they run more with – isn't Tua kind of banged up?
He is definitely a little banged up, but not the problem with Alabama. First of all, Tua right now has – I believe it's 21 touchdowns he's up to and 0 interceptions. It's not bad. The thing about Alabama, though, is, if Tua is banged up, they'll just bring in Hurts, who he's mobile, and he also is obviously more than serviceable. So I think that's more – if you think Tua is hurt, all that would do for me is lessen my desire to pay up for like Jerry Jeudy or even Ruggs, because they just catch – it's seemingly a 60-yarder every game for a touchdown right off the bat. Okay. I don't want to touch, and I'm not going out on any limbs and saying Tennessee wins this game or anything, but they did beat Auburn last week. They're not terrible. It's, in Neyland, not the best spot of all spots. Bama will be fine, but they're not immune from having a somewhat of a sloppy game here or there. And I don't even mind targeting someone like Ty Chandler. You were talking about running backs. He's only 4,200. We were talking on Three Fellas last night. I think it was with Zeke and the Jaguars. these sites, they price down these guys for good reason, but the discount of 4,200, Tennessee is going to be, in catch-up mode, I'm sure. They're going to have to lean on their weapons. It's not above Bama this year to give up some sloppy 20, 25 points.
Okay. Which guy was that again?
Ty Chandler. He's a Tennessee running back. One of their, he's pretty good, and he's been catching, which is actually the best thing to see. In the last 2 games, 4 and 5 receptions, which – we talk about this. You don't see that for guys who are running back position eligible in college.
You worried about foul trouble with him at all? I mean, he's getting older.
Yeah, he is doubling as a former center.
Yeah. Not former. He played like 12 minutes the other night in the Luka versus Ayton Bowl. That was pretty fun. Ty Chandler.
He's perpetually on both of those teams. Like, I feel like he's been on the Suns/Mavs with an occasional stint on the Knicks.
I was going to say, you're burying the lead here.
No, I know.
The super team, dream team, the 3 superstars. It's hilarious because I do remember. I think we all know a lot more. In general, we all know a lot more about basketball now. And what was that? 2010 maybe, when they sort of got them all. No, it was because it was the year after I think Amari and Carmelo were already there, and then Tyson Chandler came the year after the Mavs won, right? So it was the 2011-12 season. And I remember thinking like, oh, yeah. I mean, we've clearly seen the blueprint as you get 3 superstars together, not realizing that like, oh, my God, that is the worst. Those 3 is a disgusting fit.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No.
Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Yeah, I mean, so a couple other guys I'll just briefly mention. You can find me in Slack tomorrow. I'm certainly playing. I made the trip to Connecticut. I'm ready to go. So definitely hit me up in Slack if you have any questions, as I should know more. You got the late game Memphis Mizzou. I think that's a pretty good one to target. I don't want to say that Memphis is going to have a hangover. They lost a brutal one last week. Should have won that game. We're rolling. It was a monsoon in the second half, and their offense completely stalled out. You can look to Coxie, good receiver. Obviously, they have an All-American running back, Darrell Henderson. If I do pay up, it's to him. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Guy's just phenomenal.
What about Roundtree? He's only 5,200.
Yep, he's in the lineup that I made. Kind of a dummy lineup, but I would feel comfortable submitting it. Mizzou's been, I don't want to say they've been they have been disappointing, but they've just been a little all over the map. They've tossed, they played Bama, they played Georgia. It's certainly not the easiest schedule, so you can throw some of those out. And we've seen this guy get the work. This is a pretty good spot for him. I mean, he played Bama last week. Now he gets Memphis at home. Definitely a bounce back candidate. And then I just want to mention one game and one player. So Kansas, Texas Tech certainly has some potential. Kansas is on the slate every week, and it's disturbing because they're so bad. But you can look to our old friend Puka Williams Jr., who the price is continuing to bump up, but he's another one he can catch. He's their only source of offense. I'm still a little skeptical because Texas Tech's defense has been a little better. They're not the same old Texas Tech, but that's a game that I wouldn't mind looking to target depending on the health of Texas Tech. We got to keep an eye on that. Their quarterback, he had a bad lung, but I think he may be back.
All right. Do you like Trey King at all?
So, I mean,
trying to find the cheap running backs, man. We need them. Seriously. I mean, you've just been talking about it, but it's like you really need to find a couple cheap running backs to get it done. That seems like it's the key to every slate.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a really cheap value down there, it certainly opens it up. The problem I have with him is that there is a boatload of Tech backs. I could say, yeah, I don't mind him, but at the same time, Tayshaun Henry and D-Lom, Ward is there. There's a lot of guys competing for those touches. For me, I'd rather go to Ty Chandler or Roundtree, who you mentioned. It's a good spot in theory, but who gets that production, who even gets the first looks in terms of touches. I really don't know.
Okay.
And then, so I do want to mention this guy, and I, knock on wood, I've been pretty good with this. We nailed Peyton Ramsey a couple weeks ago for Indiana in a similar spot. Illinois, their quarterback, AJ Bush, he's only 4,700. He's been bad, but Lovey, they said they're sticking with him, and I don't mind the spot. I know it's a terrible matchup in Wisco. It could be really ugly. Full disclosure, that's really aggressive, but you're talking about 4,700 for a guy who could rush the ball. He's really mobile 20-something times, and if they keep him, from getting sacked a million times, he could luck box his way into a pretty nice game, even if they get blown out. So that's a good way to get a cheap quarterback. I don't even think you have to pair him up because, he's probably getting there through his legs if he in fact does. The floor is really low. Wouldn't be stunned if he even gets yanked in the game if they're ineffective. But it's a reasonable question to ask what Wisconsin's season is over. They got 2 losses now. So I could see that being a sneaky spot if you want to go aggressive at quarterback.
Okay. Don't hate that. Any quarterbacks you like more? Like, I find the most interesting thing for me to, like, when I do make college football lineups, is to try and sort through, because your natural inclination generally, at least in the NFL, is always pair your quarterback with a wide receiver, but that's not necessary. There's a lot more guys you can run naked in college football. Are there any guys that are in play that you don't feel the need to pair with a wide receiver?
I mentioned Sean Robinson. I don't think you have to do it there. It's got to be, for me, it's got to be someone who is mobile. I don't know. Yeah, and that Kyler Murray, you could do it there, but Hollywood Brown is so good that
don't be a fish.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. And then honestly, it's tough beyond that. I just mentioned AJ Bush. There's not that much on the slate. Ryan Finley is a damn good player. A lot of people think he's going to be a pretty good pro. He's at Clemson, though. That's just a really tough spot for a kid. I expect NC State to play well, and I expect them to lose. On the other side, Trevor Lawrence, he's the all-world freshman. I'm not as high on him as everyone else. Again, do I think he's effective? Sure, but you're not getting any sort of discount at 8,400. So I'm going to keep it pretty close to the vest. Certainly doesn't feel like you need to play 2 quarterbacks this week. I think that's early in the college football year. It seemed like with this super flex, you had to jam 2 quarterbacks in. That's not the case anymore. It's sometimes actually a detriment to try to do it.
Okay. Our boy, John sorry, I don't have it in front of me now. John Krolikowski Jr. breaking some news. Got some Schefter bombs. Marshawn Lynch out a month. Riddick officially out. So your boy, Kerryon Johnson, big deal. And then possibly, I have not confirmed this, but Carlos Hyde traded to Jacksonville. Is that a real thing?
It's on DK Live.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Well, if I knew that, I would have stopped my rambling about college football a little earlier. That's interesting. Really interesting. That Nick Chubb time?
I guess.
Johnson, the Duke return.
Yeah, I guess they turn into a more sort of, like, Carlos Hyde is he's a guy that can kind of do everything. Like, he can run it and be a solid passing weapon. Now they run more into the Chubb versus Duke kind of, that's like the Sony Michel James White thing.
Yeah. Do you think, and I don't want to speculate too much, does that indicate to you that Fournette might be really hurt?
Yeah, I think he is really hurt. He's got chronic hamstring problem.
Yeah, if it's chronic hamstring is not God, I thought he was close to, it seemed like they wanted to hold him out to the bye and then bring him back. That does not seem to be the case from my vantage point.
No, I think what they did is screwed up and picked a running back in the first round, which you should do. I'm just kidding. I don't want to
you tell them, because everyone forgets that, Jared Goff. Oh, great. Yeah, they had Gurley before him. So it's always nice to come in when Justin Herbert next year for the Giants is just running him up because he has Saquon. We'll see how that goes. But still.
Do you remember how bad Gurley was his sophomore year? 2 years ago?
I was so
fourth year. Go ahead.
I know. I was just going to say, I come from such a different, because I remember Gurley at Georgia, I thought he was going to be the best player ever. And then I was so just down that he seemed like he was just not going to be even remotely good at all.
Well, he had a really good rookie year. And then his second year, their offense was so bad. This is why I was really into the Rams last year, is because they picked up Whitworth, they picked up Sullivan. They had a horrid offensive line 2 years ago. And that was the book. I remember reading scouting reports on Gurley coming out of college, is that he struggles in tight spaces. I still think that's the case. It's just there are no tight spaces. They're the freaking Warriors. They spread you out so much. Gurley has so much room to work with.
There's no question that, and I'm a huge Gurley fan, but it's just like the Warriors. Put Clay where they just have to key on him and see how effective he is.
Imagine Clay is the first option on a team having to create his own shot.
Somebody's going to pay for that next year.
Yeah,
probably the Knicks. Dear God. Anyway, so that's really my thoughts for college. Find me tomorrow on Slack. It's a lot easier, when we get those. You got to dig in college. We'll see what some of these injuries are and if we get any word. But that's it for me. Anything else for you, Doggy?
Excited to watch Toronto-Boston tonight. You amped for that?
No. I am amped for Knicks-Nets, though. Wait a minute. Sorry.
Would you? You are not. I mean, you are technically a Knicks fan. I don't think you're particularly.
No, my name is Jazz Raz, and that's for the Utah Jazz. I do like Utah, but yeah, Knicks.
So, my point more is that you don't really care about the Knicks.
No.
Are you actually going to watch Nets-Knicks over Celtics-Raptors?
No, but not humble brag. I have multiple screens in my apartment, so I will have both of those games on at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really excited to watch Kawhi on the Raptors.
It's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, it's a fun matchup. Not a great fantasy game necessarily, but
we have that covered though. Perfect plug for obviously content doesn't end with us. We got people all throughout the day. There'll be hockey, and then we got Fast Eddie Fear and the gang leading you up to lock.
With Josh, I think. Josh and Eddie tonight.
Josh and the dynamic duo.
No Josh tonight.
No Josh. It's just Josh
86 Josh.
So take what we just said and Men in Black it. Not true. But Fast Eddie Fear will be ready to roll. We did it. Another week in the books, man.
Yeah. Congratulations. We're still here, not fired. People are watching.
But if you could give us a like, it would be super appreciated. Helps the show a ton. Yeah. We appreciate you guys in chat.
Keep us not fired.
Hot take at the end of the show, Patty. State beats Clemson. I would love to see that. I don't think so, but I'd love to see it.
Which state? There's a lot of states out there.
If they combined and NC State gets to take some other states with them, then maybe they have a chance.
Mm-hmm. NC State and Kansas State and Hawaii State, just super team.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Like us if you can. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for the news in the chat, everyone. That was fun stuff. Man, Carlos Hyde to the Jacks. Do you think he plays this week? No. That's too bad. Whatever. The Carlos Hyde, Jamal Charles, man. Anyway, lots to unpack there. Everyone have a good time. Look at Ben in Slack for college football advice. Let's talk about Scott Piercy, who's winning a tournament.
Yikes.
Just wild stuff. Thanks, Josh, for producing. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will check you on Monday. Watch Ben on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Monday.